So much. Justus invited me to do this session, and Justus is always full of surprises. So, oh, I had to choose between doing it today or doing it next week. Next week is going to be even worse. Today was bad enough. So, I'm as far as being a very hectic day. But what I'm going to do is to invite us to have a discussion after I do a short presentation. It's not going to be a long presentation, and I've actually restricted myself to talking about Tre-En-En, and really there isn't that much to talk about if I'm to keep it simple. But let us get started, and then hopefully we can have that discussion where everybody will participate. Okay. I thought I would first introduce myself and my partner, not only in the business, but also in life. That's Edward Nambassi, and my name is Eseza Nambassi. We've been associated with Neolife for a few very, very happy years, and I think it was the best decision that I made. I must tell you, I made the decision to get started with Neolife because to me it made absolute sense. And I was actually looking for cleaning products. Would you believe it? Yes, that's what I was looking for, but I found the best nutrition supplements ever. And I've always been very, very interested in nutrition. I am trained as a medical doctor. I've been a medical doctor. It's coming almost to 40 years since I graduated. So that's quite a long time. But I think my decision to get started with Neolife, and particularly to take care of nutrition, has stood not only myself, but my family in good stead as well. So I've said, let us start at the beginning. And why do I say at the beginning? Because that is where nutrition should start. And I'll recount the story. Okay, so how Tre-En-En came to be was, it was noticed that when industrialization happened and people moved off the land and into urban areas, there was a need to supply food. And that food had to be prepared in such a way that it wouldn't spoil. In other words, the good old days were that they would grind a whole grain as it was and gave you everything about that whole grain. But as industrialization took place and people moved off the land and lived in cities, it was impossible to give us everything, because within 2 to 4 days, the flour, if it was all ground up, would become bitter, rancid. It would spoil, okay? And it wasn't good for anything except to be thrown away. So people discovered that if you remove the oily part of the grain that has been put there by God on purpose, then you are more likely to have something that will sit on the shelf for a long time and people will buy it, and yeah, you won't lose any money. So it all eventually became about losing money. So eventually people started noticing that they started becoming unwell, okay? And what was being taken off the grain was being discarded for animal feed. So very soon, farmers looked really sick and haggard and their cattle were flourishing because they were getting those grain oils. So the question is that we have over the years seen changes in the disease profile. And in an effort to address that problem of the symptomatology, the symptoms that we see, more and more medications are being created, okay, to manage more and more chronic diseases. But in my humble opinion, and I've seen it, I've told you over the past 40 years, we are not addressing the root causes. We are trying to medicate away symptoms. And indeed, a lot of the diseases are actually lifestyle diseases. Okay, so our work, for those of you who are guests, is to try and channel people away from a very long queue of treating symptoms and to tell them that the fundamental change in lifestyle is called for. So we have a vision as a family, the Neolife family, to make the world healthier and happier, okay? To make the world a healthier and happier place. And the beauty of it is that it is not complicated, guys. It is really not complicated. And we need to stop complicating issues. So that's how the name of my brand and my business was inspired. I call my brand Simply Healthier, because if you go back to God's precepts and his what the word says, we have to keep things simple. I will one day discuss that in greater detail. But now the truth is that health has become very much like money. We never have a true idea of its value until we lose it. And unfortunately, a lot of people are losing it rapidly because when they reach that fork of what should I do? How should I look after my body? Okay, a lot of people take the easy way out. And unfortunately, that in the long run is the most expensive way. So are you tired of being tired? Okay, a lot of people are tired of being tired, and it starts early in teenage years even, or even earlier, where people just are not coping very well. Well, the news is that nutrition is a critical determinant of immune responses, and malnutrition is the most common cause of immunodeficiency worldwide. Okay, so with that in mind, I want us to just quickly discuss what goes on the inside of us. When we consider the musculoskeletal system, that's the one that governs turnover of bones, muscles, connective tissues, and all mobility issues. And just the awareness that, oh my gosh, I have to take care of that for me to work properly should have us all sitting upright and really listening. Then if you consider the nervous system, that's the one that governs health of the brain, mood, sleep, and all the functions that we call executive functions, thinking, planning, having a vision, dreaming, you know. And then if you think about the hormonal system, oh my goodness, all the systems that are running us literally. Things like the pancreas that churns out insulin, churns out various other hormones to break down fats and proteins and help with the metabolism. If you think about the thyroid, that's a very important gland in the front of our necks. It needs the correct nutrition. It needs the correct nutrients all the time for it to function, because it governs every single cell in your body, every single cell. And remember, there's 73 and beyond trillion cells. And then you think about the adrenals. Those will, oh gosh, those govern a lot of how you are motivated, because they put out all the stress hormones. They have a lot of work that they do for us. Okay, and then the sex hormones are so important. Without them, humanity might actually come to a wobble. You might not be able to proceed. So and then you think about fat and protein metabolism. And that's where we, in this family, always talk about physical activity and weight management. Can you see? But all those are governed by one thing. What are you putting in your cell? In your cells, yes, and in your body. And then let me go further and explain disease. And I've broken that word up into two to make it simple, because if anything is making the body uneasy, it is called dis-ease. They just changed the spelling a little bit, but that is where the word disease comes from. And as an example, again, if there's a challenge with carbohydrate metabolism, it will affect how your cells create energy. If there's a challenge with the essential fatty acids metabolism, it will affect how your body responds to inflammation. Okay, and it will also affect how your body responds in the case of a trigger, how the immune system, that very huge system that keeps us protected, how it responds. And then, of course, there's the whole issue of every cell, every single cell needing to get rid of toxins, needing to get rid of whatever has happened in that cell that is not of that cell, or whatever has come into that cell that needs to leave. Okay, so things like heavy metals and free radicals that might be produced within the cell itself as a result of the function of that cell. So I've really belabored these points because diet is important. Now, if you're putting in the wrong food, the wrong diet, things like all these processed foods, and remember, processing began because it became necessary. It became necessary as industrialization happened. And so it's really convenience, right? But the biggest knock that has happened is the fact that we have lost the very primary building block of each and every one of our cells. And we need a healthy cell membrane. And inside those cells, they are the things that actually do the work of those cells called mitochondria. They each need to function. And in order to function, this is the rate limiting factor, the cell membrane. Okay, so I've gone to great length, and I just want to introduce these scientists who have encouraged us time and again to take care of ourselves at a cellular level. Now, this is a concept that is unique to this family called the Neolife family. The Scientific Advisory Board was established around about 1976 by a renowned scientist called Dr. Arthur First. He was a top toxicologist, pharmacologist, cancer researcher. He's the one who pioneered oral cancer treatment, okay? Then he moved away from that aspect and came across to Neolife. Neolife had been established in 1958. And the first product that they established as Neolife was these grain oil concentrates. And it came out of a study that was done at a university hospital of a group of people, women mainly, who had been noticed to be admitted because they were chronically fatigued. Some of them were so sick from just chronic fatigue that they couldn't even get out of bed, okay? So this bunch of women, and I suppose they could have been some men as well, were offered these grain oil concentrates. And what was observed was energy levels came up, hormonal levels that had sunk right down also came up. Now, let me just touch on those hormones again, and maybe that will convince you that Tre-En-En is so important. Okay, without hormones working properly, we really cannot function. And so we wonder, when we look around, how come I'll use an example because some of us are in the Neolife family. You share Neolife and you are excited and you've seen it, and you know because you are on Tre-En-En, and then you go and share it with somebody and they just don't see it. They really have no desire, no excitement. Okay, that's because their hormones are not yet functioning. And I remember when I saw this opportunity all those years ago, that clicked for me, that not everybody is yet on Tre-En-En. And so I made it actually a mission to get people on two branches of products. First of all, to clean their home with non-toxic products, because that's what I had started with and I was looking for, and to get onto Tre-En-En ASAP. And so for those of you who know me and have wondered why I am so passionate to share, it's because I want people to become excited about life. And when that happens, particularly our men folk, okay? When the men become excited enough, I think we're going to see the world really changed, because there is nothing worse than unhealthy men all around us. We women also bear a lot of unhealthiness and we need to focus on us, but I have also started focusing more on men because the men tend to get forgotten. I hope you don't mind me saying that. Okay, so Neolife is unique in that everything is human natural nutrition. In other words, out of whole food. And now our product called Tre-En-En that we are focusing on is so important that it will feed the first place that food needs to get to in order to be useful. And that is those cells in the gut, one layer thick. It needs to be nourished in order for those cells to be able to absorb food and for the nutrients to cross into the bloodstream properly. If they're built well, then we will get nourished. So that's the first place. And that's why I said, let's start at the beginning. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this, and then I'm going to show you another picture a little later after this one. Why is it vital for cellular nutrition and function? Because that is where being nourished begins. We can eat and eat and eat, but if the food does not enter the cells, then we are not nourished. And you can imagine how many millions of people these days, after food processing began, that are lacking nutrition, are not being nourished. Yes, so Tre-En-En, it's a unique and exclusive blend of whole food extracts from wheat germ, rice bran, and soya beans. And hence the name Tre-En-En, which simply means, translated, I suppose, from one of the Latinic languages, Latin, it simply means 3 in 1, okay? It has the awesome privilege of being the world's first phytonutrient supplement. In other words, a supplement from plants, plant nutrients. That's what we mean by phytonutrients. It provides phytolipids. Lipids are being the essential fatty acids. So it provides phytolipids, plant-based lipids, which are essential to optimal health and cellular function. And those are omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. I switched it around. It's omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids. We also have a dedicated omega-3 that is from fish. But Tre-En-En has omega-3 fatty acids as well. And then it also has phytosterols, all right? Now, those form the template for a lot of very important functions, particularly the formation of the hormones that I went on and on and on about. So phytosterols such as beta-cytosterol, gamma-oryzanol, stigmasterol, campesterol, and octacosanol. All those are descriptions in biochemical terms. I recommend that you don't necessarily learn them off by heart, but all those are found in Tre-En-En. And they each have a role to play, and put together as they occur in nature, that role is amplified. So this is what I wanted to show you. Fatty acids such as omega-3s are key to healthy cell structure and function. And if you have a cell membrane, this is just an amplification of a cell membrane. There are fatty acids in there, just as I've been explaining, omega-3, omega-6, and you also need antioxidants embedded in the cell membrane. Now, antioxidants you will find in another product that we have called carotenoid complex. But my brief today is to talk about Tre-En-En. So excess omega-6, that is that branch of omega essential fatty acids. If it is too much, and if there is insufficient omega-3 fatty acid consumption, it can lead to a dietary imbalance in the cell membrane. Now, I'll give you an example. If you've seen people who are always thirsty, okay, and who gain an abnormal amount of weight, we are not supposed to be overweight, okay? That will give you a clue that they are omega-3 deficient and perhaps have too much omega-6 that is found in things like cooking oils and things like that. But Tre-En-En has it in perfect balance in that capsule. And then omega-3s and antioxidants put together can neutralize free radicals that can contribute to cell aging, to cell dysfunction, and even to cell death. So everything has to work together. And then, yes, so this visual is courtesy of another doctor. I got it from his visuals. So Tre-En-En, what are we saying? With the right nutrition, your cells can perform their very best for your well-being and vitality, okay? Because Tre-En-En helps support a good balance of lipids and sterols for your cells. And that is why it is the very beginning. And whenever you advise somebody, start there. If they can only afford that, then they're doing very well to start like that. But if they can add the other things that we have, namely omega-3 to bring down the excess of omega-6s that are already in the diet, and the antioxidants, and the vitamins and minerals. So you're beginning to get the idea why we have that pack or that combination called Pro Vitality. Pro Vitality is available, or you can compile it yourself. Okay, now Neolife went further and said the kids are very important. Children are so important, and in fact, they might be much more important as regards getting the right nutrition than those of us who are already old, okay? So we need to start early by giving them the right nutrition. And both these products, Liquid Vite and Vita Squares, have Tre-En-En in them. And if you read on the bottle, it will tell you that it has Tre-En-En. Now let us look at the inside of the cells again before I end the presentation, and hopefully there'll be some questions. Inside that cell is this very important structure called mitochondria. Hardworking cells, for example, in the heart, have thousands per cell, not just one mitochondrion. A heart muscle needs thousands of mitochondria inside each and every cell of that heart muscle. So we're talking trillions of mitochondria, trillions and trillions, okay? And, you know, modern thinking now is that disease processes are as a result of failure of the mitochondria. That is something that you need to digest for a bit, that disease processes are actually another representation of mitochondrial failure. And mitochondria are found inside the cell. And as we grow older, yes, mitochondria start dying off. And it is for us to take responsibility and say, how do we keep them alive and well? So we have this product, mitochondrial energy complex, called coenzyme Q10, that works in perfect synergy with Tre-En-En. Okay, it supports heart health and cellular energy. However, the first place to start, if you are a new one to these products, is Tre-En-En. But I thought I would show you so that you know that we have other products as well, a lot of other products. Right, let's just go on. I suspect I have finished my presentation. I wanted it to be kept short. So what are you going to do? Either as somebody in the family or a guest here, please keep your ears and eyes open, as well as your minds and hearts, because once you have experienced it, you will say, who else needs what we've got? Who else can I share with? Okay, there are people who are worried about their health, they're concerned, they want to make it better, they want to take responsibility, okay? Or they might be individuals and their families who are troubled by illness and who are now aware of their need to change in order to get different results. And then we have the youthful, vibrant, proactive, and health-conscious people who are aware that health is their greatest wealth. But then, unfortunately, a lot of the young people don't feel that way because they're not feeling anything. And that is the biggest mistake that most human beings make, that just because they're not feeling anything, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing further from the truth. And I, being in the medical profession, have chosen on purpose to alert people that prevention is way better than cure. Prevention is much more of the wise route than waiting for things to go totally wrong, because it's more expensive in the long run to try and fix things. Okay. And then, of course, who else do you look out for? Those who are genuinely looking for a noble way to make an extra income and to build a good legacy. And if there was anything that really attracted me to this opportunity, it was just that. A noble way, a way in which I could be face somebody with absolute honesty and integrity. So, welcome. We are a family on a mission to make the world a healthier and happier place. So I'm sure we can have a moment to discuss. I don't know. I'll ask the convener